Vedana anicca, sanya sankhara, vijnanang aniccang. Now we might wonder, what are all these little dots, all these little ellipses? And what's happening here is that we've mentioned that this Aniccasuttaṃ is talking about the 5 khandhas, the first of which is rupang, which we've already discussed, and the remaining 4 are vedana, sanya, sankhara, vijnanang. Now, essentially, what is happening is that instead of the word rupang in this, as we said, almost magic spell in this mantra, we're replacing the word rupang with vedana, and then with sanya, sankhara, and vijnanang. Everything is exactly the same, except we have to remember that the word rupang is neuter singular. It's grammatically neuter and singular. But vedana is grammatically feminine and singular. And so its adjective needs to agree. So aniccang becomes anicca. And that is the feminine singular form of an adjective in a. We'll put up the Doroi cell there. Likewise, for sanya. Now, sankhara is plural, but of course it looks the same. So, anicca does not have to be rewritten, but it does differ in gender and number from the preceding 2. Then notice with vijnanang, we're back to the same neuter singular situation. So then we have this aniccang. After that, we get yad aniccang tang dukkhaṃ. These dots here, these 3 ellipses, mean that after vedana anicca, we would have yad anicca tang dukkhaṃ. So this whole mantra gets repeated for vedana, then for sanya, then for sankhara, and then for vijnanang, we just have it written out. And you'll notice it is exactly what we had before. So the only things really left to talk about are these khandhas themselves. Vedana is feeling, not an emotional feeling, but the feeling of, say, contact, how warm water might feel on the hand. Sanya is a perception. Sankhara are mental formations, and vijnanang is consciousness, and perhaps our own ego. And we might wonder how consciousness is impermanent. And to get a feel for that, we can reflect upon how our consciousness or awareness can shift. So we might be doing the dishes, and then our mind wanders and starts planning or thinking about later in the evening. And of course, our consciousness shifts when we dream, and then even if it doesn't disappear, it certainly changes quite a bit when we are in dreamless sleep. So that's a way that consciousness is impermanent. Regarding the other khandhas, we probably don't need much convincing that our feeling or the sensation we have of the world around us shifts. Our perceptions shift. Our mental formations shift. And that is really what is meant by impermanent. And having a good understanding of the khandhas is useful for those who wade into such Mahayana texts as the Prajnaparamita Sutra, which discusses these very 5 khandhas, although under their Sanskrit names, they're very close. And we may even do a little daily Pali reading on that at the end of this sutta. One last thing I wanted to talk about is that before we had virajati, meaning to free oneself of passion or to become detached from the world. we made the point last time that in Buddhism we practice metta. So we have this foundation of loving kindness going out to all living sentient beings to end suffering. And in the practice of opening chakras, the heart chakra would open before the third eye, which is associated with dispassion. And I wanted to share a reading from the first epistle of John in the second chapter. This is verse 15. Me agapate ton kosmon me de ta en to kosmo. Here, John is writing to a group of people, so this is the plural imperative. Don't love the world or the things in the world. And this is fairly interesting because John does not write tous en to kosmo, which would be people, but he specifically says ta, which is the Greek accusative plural definite article standing in for the things. So he is saying don't love the things of the world. Don't love the material aspects of the world. Love the people. And when he says love, this is metta. Agape is metta. It's loving kindness. It's actually was translated in the King James Bible as charity. So again, the point here is that one thing that I think happens with us human beings, we invert this. We tend to love things and not people. And it's sort of easy to say, but we have to reverse that. We have to turn that on its head. We must elevate people and living beings. We must elevate all sentient beings above the things of the world. I was just reading in a book, The Garden of Truth, a book on Sufism, and the author makes the astute observation that our roots in the material world run deep. And we must cut those roots. And the Buddha uses that analogy sometimes. We must uproot. You have to cut the tree. You have to cut out its roots. We have to uproot ourselves from this world and the way we think. And the way to do that is to put people first, is to fill ourselves with love and to endlessly, tirelessly seek to help all people in their suffering and seek to simply love and value them.